It was one of the most brazen and most successful operations by Ukraine's military intelligence service. Sea drones attacking and, the Ukrainians say, sinking a Russian warship inside occupied Crimea. And he was one of those involved. His call sign is 13, from the elite sea drone unit named Group 13. So secretive, we had to hide his face and change his voice. We used 10 drones in the operation, he says. 6 of them hit the corvette Ivanovets. CNN cannot independently verify that the Ivanovets was sunk, but video provided by the intelligence agency seems to show the mini sea drones evading machine gun fire from the warship and then massive explosions. Their weapons are not designed to deal with such small sea drones, 13 says. In most cases, they use anti-ship guns. Ukraine barely has a functioning navy, but the Magura drones pack a massive punch, around 500 pounds of explosives. These sea drones might not look like much and they might not go very fast, but the Ukrainians say they've been extremely effective at attacking Russia's Black Sea fleet and even sinking warships. The main thing is to feel the drone, 13 says. Not everyone can hold a firm grip. If you squeeze a little, you can lose control of the drone. I would say it's like working with jewelry. Asymmetrical warfare, they call it, and the Ukrainians, outmanned and outgunned, say they need to do a lot more of it. After visiting the southern front this weekend, Ukraine's President Volodymyr Zelensky telling Italian media he not only plans to fire his top general Valery Zaluzhny, there could be a larger government shakeup. A frontrunner to become the new commander-in-chief, the defense intel boss known for brazen attacks against Russian military and infrastructure targets. The Russians are waking up at night to explosions, he says. Explosions in the air, explosions directly at the facilities. They see the real picture of war. They see burning oil depots, destroyed buildings and factories, and so on. This is all beneficial. And the Ukrainians vow to continue hunting Russian military vessels in this battle of David versus Goliath on the high seas. The explosions are dangerously close as the drone team from the 92nd Assault Brigade set up their bird, attach the bombs, and head off into battle. While drone technology is often seen as the realm of tech-savvy youngsters, one of the pilots here is over 50. One way or another, everyone should serve, he says. It is our duty to defend our land, our families, our motherland. If you do not want to fight, what kind of citizen are you? Ukraine is badly outgunned by the Russians, but the reality is they're also outmanned, unable to recruit enough soldiers willing to join the military, especially younger ones. A younger drone pilot says he doesn't regret signing up. Serving in a drone unit is easier for morale, he says, because you see what you're doing, you see the results. But manpower remains a big problem for Kiev's war effort. Many of the frontline soldiers have been fighting for nearly 2 years, and while Ukraine forbids men aged 18 to 60 from leaving Ukraine, around 650,000 men have fled to Europe, according to the EU. Decimated and exhausted, Ukraine's top general Valery Zaluzhny has called for a new mobilization drive, maybe including up to 500,000 people. President Volodymyr Zelensky is unconvinced, and sources tell CNN he has informed Zaluzhny he'll be fired, with differences over troop numbers a key reason why. But on the front lines, like in this rocket launching unit, some say they need more people to give those who've been in combat nearly non-stop a breather. The commander of this launcher is 59. In Ukraine, people can only be mobilized till they're 60. All of Ukraine is at war, and each and every man who thinks he lives in Ukraine must go through it, he says. It's irreversible. People here are tired. Ukraine's parliament is working on a law to make mobilization more appealing and possibly allow soldiers to exit the military after 3 years. But back at the drone unit, they don't believe the talk. There should be no illusions, he says. Also among soldiers whom politicians have given hope that there will be demobilization, there will not be any. Fred Pleitgen, CNN, Kyiv. With Ukraine facing a Russian onslaught in many frontline areas, Kyiv says continued U.S. military aid is more important than ever, Ukraine's military intel chief tells me.
Shells are one of the most decisive factors in this war. It's about quantity, not so much the quality as the quantity. Next, there are assault aircraft. These are aircraft of the type that the United States has, like the A-10 Thunderbolt II, and so on. This is what can really help inflict a military defeat.
But further military aid to Ukraine hangs in the balance, as Democrats accuse former President Trump of derailing a possible compromise. Budanov says he's not concerned about Trump.
He is an experienced person. He has fallen many times and gotten back up again. And this is a very serious trait. To say that he and the Republican Party are lovers of the Russian Federation is complete nonsense.
But the Russians are currently on the offensive. On the front lines, we've seen Kyiv's forces suffering a severe lack of ammunition, struggling to hold the line. Still, Budanov says he believes the tides will turn and Ukraine will attack.
In my opinion, the main events on the battlefield will start happening sometime in the spring or early summer.
Vladimir Putin wants Kyrylo Budanov dead. The Ukrainians say Moscow tried to assassinate him at least 10 times. Recently, Budanov's wife and several bodyguards fell ill after what Kyiv says was poisoning by a, quote, heavy metal, but they survived. The Military Intelligence Directorate is said to be behind an increasing number of cross-border attacks targeting key infrastructure inside Russia and the occupied territories. While never claiming responsibility, Budanov tells me Russians can rest assured the war has come to them.
I believe that the plan includes all major critical infrastructure facilities and military infrastructure facilities of the Russian Federation.
With Ukraine's offensive essentially stagnant, the Kremlin is currently feasting on rumors Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky is close to firing his top general Valery Zaluzhny and possibly installing Budanov as his successor. The spy chief coy.
Isn't that something that weakens the country if it appears as though the president and his top general are not on the same page?
I am also the head of one of the military agencies. I personally have no conflict with anyone.
You know, people were talking about you possibly being the new general.
If I was appointed yesterday, would we be meeting?
Fred Pleitkin, CNN, Kyiv.